Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another one of my Mythic Mobs tutorials. Today, we are going to be covering pre-battle dialogue. That's right. A mechanic, or I guess custom skill that's going to make your bosses that much cooler, because honestly, everybody loves a good narrative to bosses. At least I think so. You know, we need to be able to tell a story, or we need to give them some sort of characteristics or personality that other players can follow as they fight. And of course, this is going to be a very heavily narrative-driven type custom skill, as most bosses generally won't have a lot of dialogue. But in the case that you are writing a story like I am, it's going to be very important to add these kind of elements. So before we get started, if you haven't already, hop on over into my Discord channel. Link will be in the description below. Lots of cool stuff going on over there. Lots of new additions being added daily. Big thanks to my Monster Lab scientists. We actually have a bot now too that's super duper cool and very, very useful. I've been using it a ton myself, so if you see any of them in use, make sure to give the scientists a big thank you, as I have already as well. And before I really get started, if you haven't already, I seem to say that a lot. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe for more future content. I'm going to be pushing videos as frequently as I can. I've found myself having more time than I thought I would lately, which is good, which means more stuff for you guys and more really cool things you can do. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So what I want to go ahead and start off telling you guys is there's actually tons and tons of different ways you can do this. So many different setups, so much this and that, and it's just crazy. So I'm gonna tell you guys the most efficient way to do this pre-battle dialogue. First thing, as usual, we're gonna need to set up a mob. So here I am in my Mythic Mobs new mob file. You can see I haven't named Disguise Test because I was experimenting before this recording, but I think I got the results I wanted. So we're just going to go ahead and stick with this file name. So we are going to go ahead and call our mob Dialogue Boss, and we're going to do all the very basic things that we always do. So options, prevent sunburn, true, prevent other drops, true. We're going to do a thing here, a thing here where we're going to type movement speed 0.01, but we're actually going to disable this for the time being. So we're going to put a little hashtag in front of it, and we're just going to move on from there. So, here we need to define a skill to use. So let's go ahead and call this S equals intro dialogue. At self, and of course on spawn. This is when we are going to want it to activate. This is going to be very important, so we are going to stick to this for the time being. One thing I want to let you guys know, you can use this method that we are going to be covering for any part of a boss fight. So you could do like, I guess you could do halfway dialogue at self on damaged, and then add a parameter which is like equals 50%. So when they're halfway dead, they will do another dialogue. You can do the same thing again. Let me go and just delete that one. Say death dialogue on damaged equals maybe 5%. You can use this anywhere in the fight. It is entirely up to you guys. But we are only going to be playing with the intro dialogue, because that's what's going to get players hooked into your boss fight. If you do not have this, I'm not saying it'll be a bad boss, I'm not even saying it'll be a mediocre boss, but I personally think having some sort of dialogue will give your boss characteristics, and will just make it that much more interesting. You know, it hooks players, and that's what you want whenever you're either setting up boss fights, selling bosses, whatever the case. You always want something to hook players. So now that we have this set up, we need to go into a skill file. Here I already set up a skill file called dialogue tutorial, and we're just going to go ahead and type this over, intro dialogue. skills. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to type out some messages here. So message m equals who dares summon me? Okay, we're going to do at PIR, which is players in radius, r equals 20. We're just going to go ahead and duplicate this line 2 more times, just so we can have a few messages going on. We are going to go ahead and give him an introduction. So I am the Underbringer, I guess. I am the Underbringer. Ha! I will destroy your world. So, of course, this is obviously just very cheesy, basic dialogue to kind of help you guys get the understanding. So if we look at it all together, we have this going on. Now we're going to go ahead and save both of our files, and we're going to reload. Now if we spawn in our mob and spawn dialogue boss, as you can see, all the messages show up in chat, but they all showed up really interesting. That was very underwhelming. You know, we need it to be interesting, you know? As well, we need to give players time to read each individual message. I found that 3 seconds is generally a good time for message duration, but you can change it accordingly. That is entirely up to you. It's also going to vary based on what type of animations you throw into your spawning. Since we will not be covering, or at least dealing with animations at the moment, we are going to just kind of ignore that for the time being. So now what we need to do, we're just going to kill him off, because I don't feel like listening to that. I'm also going to add silent true. Okay, so one thing we can do, so that way you don't have to keep worrying about spawning him in constantly, we're going to actually switch on spawn to interact for now. Actually, we're going to duplicate this line, and we're going to comment one out, and we're going to change the commented one to on spawn. This is just going to kind of help us test how well it works. So we talked about adding a delay between messages so players can read it. So if we do delay 60, which is 3 seconds, 20 per second, this should make it at least more bearable whenever they spawn in. Reload. Okay. Now if we right click him, who dares summon me? I am the Underbringer. I will destroy your world. So that seemed like a pretty reasonable reading speed. Of course, your messages may be longer than that. Just take into account the best way to know how long you should have your messages go for is how fast, not how fast you can read it, but if you can read it at a comfortable speed and finish before the next message pops up, that's preferable. You can do it back to back to back, but you need to give players time to read because not everybody reads at the same speed. And if you want everyone to pay attention to what your boss has to say, it's very important that you give it delays in between each message. So now that we got that out of the way, we saw that our mob was just kind of walking all over the place. He still kind of is, so we're going to do this. Kill all. Because we don't want that. We don't want him walking around while doing that message. We want him to stay in place. So one thing we can do is we are going to do a thing here where we're going to use the stun mechanic. We're going to do duration. We need to make sure our duration matches up with how long our delay is. So what we're going to do another delay here, but we're going to make this 120. So now we need to do a little bit of math. 60, 120, 140. So duration equals 140. And we need to do facing equals false. This is going to allow our mob to look around while he is while he's talking. So if we reload, spawn dialogue boss. If we go into survival, of course he's going to be able to move around, but if we right click him just to get the dialogue started, he's going to stand still and look at us while talking. Who dares summon me? I am the Underbringer. I will destroy your world. And now he's moving. See, it's perfect. So what we're going to do is go back into creative, and we need to do some formatting here. So as you can see with general plugin stuff, there's usually some sort of format, whether like it's generally brackets with a title and then the actual text itself. So what we're going to do, pardon me, we are going to add a set of square brackets here, and we are going to just go ahead and throw his title in there under bringer. And then here we are going to type and C because I want to give it that bright red color. So once we have that done, we are just going to copy and paste to the beginning of other messages, and you will see that it is now formatted. Where does he keep going? Okay, so if we right click him, yeah, that's looking a lot better. And of course you can change the formatting as you want, but it's best to make it at least obvious like this, that it's our mob talking to us. Okay, so one more issue we need to focus on. Well, as you can see, he's still getting thrown around, and we definitely don't want that. And during the stun mechanic, it's, you know, he just kind of teleports back, and he's also taking damage. So how do we fix this? Well, one workaround we can do is we can add the on damaged aura. So we're going to type on damaged aura name equals dialogue. Duration, we need to make this the same duration as this, so we're going to go ahead and use 140. 140 on hit equals, we're going to call this dialogue protection, just on the off chance that we use this for other mobs as well. So on hit equals dialogue protection, and then the last thing we need to do is add m equals 0. This stands for multiplier, so whenever he gets hit, the multiplier is going to be set to 0. Okay, so now then, what this should do, actually, no, we need to add this skill. So now that we have that defined, we're going to go down here, dialogue protection, skills, velocity, m equals set. Okay, and then we need to do x equals 0, y equals 0, and z equals 0 at self. Okay, let me go ahead and put that there too, just to make sure. Now if we reload, I'm going to go ahead and kill him off because I'm pretty sure there's 2 of them walking around. M spawn dialogue boss. So the velocity mechanic seems to be very iffy for me as of lately, and I'm not sure why. Oh yeah, okay, so what we need to do, we need to add a delay because it's working instantly. So that delay, this is gonna help fix it. I don't know why this is the case, but we just, at this point I just know we need it. So if we reload, well, he's still walking around. So I guess I forgot to mention we do need to add the stun mechanic back in, because that's going to prevent him from walking all over the place. And this is pretty much just going to prevent him from getting knocked back. I hope this is making sense to you guys, and I apologize, this seems very back and forth like. But now if we do this, we right click him. Okay, he stopped because of the stun mechanic. And as we hit him, it does seem a bit wonky, but it does prevent him from at least being thrown too far away. There are different ways you can go about fixing this. This is probably not the best way to do it, but it does work. Let me remove the delay here and see if it makes a difference. Let me reload. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, that delay equals 1 is entirely necessary, and I'm not sure why, but that seems to be the only current fix to that issue. There is another thing you can do about it. You could do, say, you know what, we're gonna take this out. We're gonna do dialogue protection at self on damaged. Okay. Now this is pretty much just gonna change this. So I know it seems kind of redundant to do it this way, But what we can do is we're actually going to remove this, and instead we're going to add a stance condition. So stance, or sorry, no, it's going to be set stance. S equals dialogue at self. So now if we add a condition here, conditions, we're going to do stance S equals dialogue true. So now we have it set in here by itself, but it'll only ever activate so long as he has the dialogue stance, which when you add it up here, you need to make sure to remove that stance whenever you are done. So we're going to change it to combat, and we're going to add it to the end of the intro dialogue. So now if we reload, as you can see, it does the same effect. You can do it either which way. It still looks kind of funky. There hasn't really been much of a fix yet. Stun obviously makes him kind of bounce back and forth. Velocity, it used to work, and I think there was a point in this video where you could see it working instantly, but that is not currently the case. That's probably the best workaround we are going to get. But so far this is our intro dialogue. We're just going to go ahead and add this back. So on hit equals dialogue protection. And doing it this way will remove the need for stances. You can turn that off. And this will also help kind of keep your mob file clean doing it this way. So one last time, we're going to right click him. Yeah, there we go. And he's actually not taking any damage during this. As you can see, I'm using the MMO items plugin, and that's what's giving me those little damage tags. So you can see none of them are popping up when I hit him after right clicking, because he is under that protection mechanic. So now that we have the very, very basic setup, there's a couple more things that you can do. What you can do is, okay, so I already have a disguise set up from one of my previous tutorials. If you haven't already, check out my Libs Disguises tutorial video. This will kind of help get you set up, and using this mechanic in conjunction with it, you'll be able to use whatever skin you want. So we're going to go ahead and type disguise D equals black dragon, because that's what we made in the video, at self. And we're also actually going to do, I think it's effect equals thunder, or effect thunder at self. Either that or, you know what, it's probably lightning. Let me do effect lightning at self. Okay, so we reload, and theoretically, whenever he ends, he should get struck by lightning and turn into my dragon. Who dares summon me? I am the Underbringer. I will destroy your world. Bam! And look at that. We now have a really cool disguised mob. And he's dead because he didn't have much health left. But it's a really cool way. Say if you want your mob to like change appearance throughout the fight, using disguises is a really cool way to be able to do that. As you saw what I did there, he changed at the beginning of the fight, but you can do that at any point. However much, however many animations you want to add to it is up to you. But I think that's just a really cool way to go about it. I can't cover how to do animations because it's literally up to your imagination. There are so many different ways you can do it. You can make them... I had a boss who ascended from underground. I had a boss that literally came out of the sky. There's just so many things that you can do, so I can't really do a tutorial covering all of that because it is literally up to your imagination alone. So that's pretty much how you do pre-battle dialogue. Make sure to always add those delays between messages so your players can read, format them correctly, and then make sure to always add some sort of stun and damage canceling mechanics, because that will pretty much, it'll keep your boss from getting cheesed while, they're trying to talk. It's one way to keep your boss interesting. And even if you wanted to, you could even do like, you could do an on tick thing, because on damaged, if you know how projectiles work, it's literally like the exact same thing. Or if you know how auras work, it's the exact same thing. It's literally an aura. So like interval equals 1 could be a thing, and then you could have like an on tick skill where it just throws any player that's nearby to keep them away from the boss while he is speaking. The possibilities are not limitless, but there's a lot of them. So I hope this helped clear things up for you guys and helps you to make way cooler bosses. You know, everybody loves a good intro, or at least I do. Hence why, you know what, never mind. So thank you guys so much for watching. Again, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. If you have any questions, hop over into my Discord channel. The Mythic Mobs Help channel is going to be a big support for you guys in your learning process. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I can't wait to see what you come up with in the future.